Welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for coming. I realize that you could have been anywhere else tonight, especially on a Thursday night, and instead you chose to be here. And I definitely appreciate that. I am Angeanette Thibodeaux, your candidate for Texas State Rep District 139. Want to talk to you today. First of all, we're in Acres Homes, the heart of the district technically, but you know what, all the district is the heart, but we're in the meat of it right now. And I say the heart because today was a huge victory for the Acres Homes community. So I commend the community on their victory for the batch plant. The concrete batch plant has withdrawn their application. Yes, yes, yes. That is a huge victory for the community because that eyesore that was right across the street from the park, right in the heart of the neighborhood where homes were, children were, polluting the air quality. You know, quality of life is good, fresh air, clean water, safe streets, good, healthy environment. And that batch plant deterred all of that. So I want to commend the community for standing up and forming a perfect unified union to fight this. I also want to commend Senator Whitmire, my opponent, Jarvis Johnson. I want to commend him because they did do, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, they did do some work to get that done. So while we talk about the victory belongs to the community because it took the community to come together to bring this to the forefront. So while my opponent, my worthy opponent, talk about experience and things like that, experience means getting proactive. Experience is jumping ahead of the curve. Experience means getting ahead of things so that these issues and these concrete batch plants and things like that that plague our community never get into our community. So my thing is, you never should have been able to get permitted and get the application in the first place. So experience means while you're asleep, this came and creeped into your backyard. Hold me accountable when I'm asleep at the wheel, that my community had to wake me up and say, look at what's happening. So if that's what experience looks like, then I'm not experienced because I won't sleep at the wheel. If it comes into my backyard, you know, we as females, when it enters our house, we know what's going on. We know everything. When the children come in late, you can step on this first step and you can hear that crack and you know that they're in the house. That's just me being a single mom. I understand those issues that plague our community. And so I understand how to run a household and things like that. So I hear, you know, people talk about experience. Let me tell you about my experience. First of all, graduate of Grambling State University, go Tigers. Have my master's degree, double master's in state and local government and human resource management. My bachelor's actually is in computer information and business, so I did a double-double. After that, I went on and started working for the Department of Labor. So I went Fed, where welfare to work was the first initiative and the first act that I ever had a part in. So the Workforce Investment Act, WIA, was my baby, and so I worked on the task force team to form that act, and out of that came welfare to work, which was my baby, and that was teaching young women how to become self-sufficient and get off the program. So I took pride in that, and I rode that clean on into Minnesota, where I started becoming a corporate girl, working at General Motors. I was a GMAC girl, and then after that I started getting into advocacy, finance, housing, and I started working on the GM side. Instead of doing finance, I started getting into home ownership and housing, because at the time when nobody even understood that foreclosure was coming, back in 2006, we forecasted and knew that foreclosure was going to be an epidemic that plagued our community. So before anybody started losing their homes, we could forecast and know that it was coming. So we knew that wave was coming, and so we formed what we call the HOPE Foundation, which is Homeownership Preservation Enterprise. So we started working with all kinds of entities, nonprofit organizations, other corporate America sponsors. And so we started jumping ahead of the homeownership preservation phase. So when people were going into foreclosure, before they knew they were going, we were going to the courthouse, on the courthouse steps, literally trying to pull them off of foreclosure. And that turned into the biggest boom you ever could imagine. And that was back in 2007 when foreclosure plagued our communities and took our communities by storm. People were losing their houses in rapid number to a daily number. And it was very, very bad, and we jumped ahead of it, and we started working with organizations like NACA, ACORN, ESOP, you name it, neighborhood housing centers, anybody that could do certified counseling and get people counseled for loan modifications. We did that, and I'm proud to say I spearheaded that. I also was one of the ones that negotiated the deal that changed Countrywide and took Countrywide down to the fact where Bank of America, which was my former employer, I was vice president at Bank of America, and I was vice president of, guess what, their foreclosure prevention program. And it was feel good. It felt good being able to protect and save people's homes. But at that point, you get to a peak. And have you ever gotten to a peak where you just say, it's got to be more? Mm-hmm. And that's when I started, calling up on my old friend at NACA and working with NACA, Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. And NACA was doing foreclosure prevention in record number. And I love the program so well that I became so engulfed in it. 47 offices across the country, and we continue to open more. So it became to the point where we started doing more of foreclosure prevention. So we took it on the road and said, instead of people coming to us, because it's hard to admit that you have an issue. It's hard to admit when hard times are facing you. So what we said, the best marriage in the world was to team up with the churches. Because when people are facing foreclosure or when people are facing difficult times, they go where? To the church. And so that's what we did, and that's how it just grew into a mega program, and it still holds true today. I love the program so much is that when I came to Houston, we started bringing foreclosure preservation to Houston back in 2007. So before the community knew me, they knew the program. So they didn't understand. Sometimes people just eat sausage and don't know how it's made. We was back there making sausage and people was just coming to the table eating. So when we started doing modifications here in Houston, that was Angeanette Thibodeaux working her butt off to make sure we bring it to the forefront. It was such a good idea till last year we brought $100 million to the city of Houston and abroad. And that money is dedicated for affordable housing. So I want you to understand where I come from, because that's the only way you'll know where I'm going.
All right.
That's the only way.